Chairman, Supervisors, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Priamos, Dr. Cameron Kaiser, Public Health Officer. Just to give you a quick update worldwide, the case count for the novel Wuhan coronavirus stands at 20,701, 20,492 of those in mainland China, with 427 deaths for a crude mortality rate of 2.1%. I should also note, by comparison, the United States has 11. As the board is aware, 195 evacuees from the most affected region in China are currently under federal quarantine at March Air Reserve Base. So far, that has generally gone well. I'll mention a couple of events in a moment. They will remain in quarantine for the full 14-day period, which will end on or about February 11th. An additional evacuee arrived last night. They departed from the affected region of China somewhat earlier than this group, so they will also depart their federal quarantine earlier on or about February 6th. Unfortunately, as you are aware, a minor who was part of that evacuee population developed a fever last night and was transported to RUHS Medical Center for further evaluation. We were unable to determine a clear alternative diagnosis, and unfortunately there isn't a lot of choice but to do some additional testing to find out if this is just some other viral cause, which is still the most likely diagnosis, or a new case of novel coronavirus. They do have a parent with them, and they will remain in isolation until we have determined that. I should also point out, however, that despite the substantial media attention and all of these events that have occurred, we have not forgotten about the flu, and neither should anybody else. In fact, of our coronavirus rule-outs that we've received in the county, many of those people have turned out, in fact, to have simply the flu. Those same things apply. Flu is going to kill a whole lot more Riverside County residents than any coronavirus will, let alone this one, and people should observe the same precautions they would ordinarily. We still got about a week and a half to go. We'll continue to hold it together until then. We appreciate the help of all of our partners, RSO, obviously Public Health, our friends at the Medical Center, Behavioral Health, and of course our good partners with the Department of Defense and the U.S. Air Force. We'll keep you informed. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. Any questions or thoughts from my colleagues?
Just a quick one, if I may.
Yes, of course,
Supervisor
Supervisor.
Jeffries.
I just want to thank you and the rest of your staff and colleagues for stepping up to the plate when the feds, the CDC, was going to let that first individual just walk off the base after 3 days. You and your colleagues making sure that they were there for the full quarantine time was the right thing to do. I see that the federal government is following your lead now. So thank you again for doing that.
Just remember this day when I screw up someday, Mr. Davis.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Supervisor Spiegel.
I just appreciate the constant updates, the
Sure.
information that's passed, so that when we are in the community or facing some constituents that we have the appropriate information. Constant question is, which has been brought to attention, is the possibility of additional flights coming in.
Quite right. You know, the problem, of course, is that I think we have done possibly too good a job, and we've run actually a very comprehensive response. We are not aware of any additional evacuees that we'll be receiving, but unfortunately the situation changes all the time. It changed very rapidly in the 12 hours before it moved from Ontario to us. Naturally, we want to keep the public informed. We have a good response protocol now. We're sort of into that operational rhythm. We're hoping this becomes our last group, but nevertheless, if it doesn't, then we'll do our best to make sure that we continue to provide the excellent service with this next group as well. I would be remiss, of course, if I didn't acknowledge Mr. Van Wagenen's work in keeping you, the board, informed, because that has taken a great load off of us and has helped to make sure that we're getting information moving in the right direction.
Trust me, he's been doing it no matter what time it is. He's informing us. And the second question is that has been asked of me, and I'm sure my colleagues may get it too if they haven't, and that is the fact of, I just want everybody to be rest assured of the protocols being taken at RUHS to make sure that we're not spreading, that's what they're saying, was by taking them off and we're spreading this disease. Can you just briefly?
The idea is we actually took probably more precautions than we needed to get this minor off of the base. Everybody traveled in PPE on a dedicated ambulance, everyone with the appropriate equipment. They were moved not through the emergency room, but to a dedicated room directly on the floor as a straight admit. This is probably overkill, but we certainly do not want rumors like that to take root, and the way you get around that is by doing more than necessary, and that's what we have done.
right? Because we've had several
We
rumors.
certainly have.
And-
And part of the idea of dealing with that is to make sure that we're getting appropriate, accurate information out to the press. Our PIO folks, everybody from the base PIOs, Jose Arbayo and our group, Brooke, of course, have been making sure that we're getting that constant information out so we don't have that information void where those kinds of pernicious rumors can take root.
Well, I know I appreciate, I'm sure my colleagues, of all the efforts by everybody involved. So thank you for being such a great leader with you and Mr. Van Wagen and making sure that things are done and we are informed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Hewitt.
At the risk of making your head explode from too many kind things being said about you, I would like to actually add in the fact that you have been a great example for what a public health officer and a leader can do when they have the courage to do what's right and not worry about overstepping your bounds or anything else. I think that was a great act you did. I don't know you as well as I do now, and I think going forward you'll set an example for a lot of future things. But knowing that somebody of your abilities, we can sleep at night when you're taking all the right measures, and like I say, erring on the side of safety is good. But you did that certainly, and I appreciate it.
We want to always respect civil liberties when it comes down to it, but also the public safety also has to be factored into with it. It was a difficult call, but fortunately turned out to be the right one.
Yes, it did.
Thank you, Supervisor. And once again, let me just echo the accolades, the fact that you took that risk. Perhaps the CDC might have not agreed with you, but obviously thinking about it,
Fortunately, our county council did, and that's where it matters.
ultimately, we need to make sure we protect our citizens. And so I thank you for that, and thank you as well for including Supervisor Hewitt and myself to be part of that press conference on behalf of our colleagues here in the County of Riverside, and also the entire team that's been working on this issue. Thank you all as well, RUHS, Emergency Management Department. Want to thank you as well, and everyone else that's been engaged. I appreciate all your efforts. Thank you, Dr. Kaiser.